Welcome at this podcast of MDCS.ai from Amsterdam in the Cisco podcast studio, where we have two guests, which I will introduce shortly. And in this episode, we're going to discuss the consideration of Trivium Packaging around their AI and their AI journey and the impact on their AI infrastructure. But now first, to the two guests, Sebastian Van Duin, if I pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Could you just briefly introduce yourself and explain what you do at Trivium?
Yeah, sure. So Sebastian Van Duin, working for Trivium since 3 and a bit years now. Started as leading the global network team, and since recently I am manager of the AI Center of Excellence, where I'm responsible for all the AI initiatives within the organization.
Yeah, sounds exciting. So happy to hear more about that. And from the left to you, Boris Vermaas from Cisco.
Yes. So thanks, Niels, for the invitation. My name is Boris, indeed, working for Cisco and helping customers in the Netherlands around their AI journey.
Yeah, that sounds like a good combi. So Sebastian, to start with you, could you take our listeners back to, let's say, your AI journey and where it all started in your, let's say, 3.5 years?
Yeah, I think that goes all the way back to somewhere mid-2022, where Boris and myself were in contact for our global network refresh. We were refreshing our old network kit with a new Cisco kit.
Yeah.
And somewhere in the process, ChatGPT got launched, and we were blown away by what we could do with it. It could generate switch configurations within a couple of seconds. It did help us preparing all the templates, etc., which really accelerated the network refresh on our side, making sure that we were much more prepared than checking all the stuff manually, etc. And then a bit of a fast forward. So I think a year or 1.5 later, something like that, the network refresh was kind of settled, implemented. And we noticed that quite a lot of new tools were introduced. So we had our new security stack, our firewall stack, etc. And we noticed that every single day you had to open multiple tabs in your browser, going through several inventory systems, etc., which was kind of time consuming. So back then we were like, could we not create it a ChatGPT-like, but then in-house for this, so that we can automatically reach out to all these tools, retrieve the information, and get back to us with an issue in a nutshell, or try to troubleshoot something for us rather than us spending time on it. And that's where Kenny, our internal AI application, is born. We called it Kenny because Trivium Packaging, we didn't really introduce it, but we are producing cans, all sorts of sizes. So Kenny is our in-house AI chatbot. And we started actually very small. So we just had a couple of pages. It didn't look very nice back then. With some API calls with a server, even without GPU back then.
Yeah.
We had to wait like 10 minutes for a reply, but hey, it was working, and we were kind of able to implement a proof of concept. And again, we were blown away. I mean, the possibilities were endless. So that's, I think, where it all started. It's okay, let's see how we can link this to our business applications or network applications. Let's see how we can be more efficient in our own team. And help the guys retrieving information faster rather than clicking around.
Yeah, it's, that's interesting. So the driver was a kind of operational efficiency.
Yeah.
In combination with what's all possible with generative AI like a ChatGPT. But you said something important to say, look, we would like to have it in our own environment and not do it via a ChatGPT application.
Yeah, correct. I mean, all the Cisco solutions do have open APIs, which we don't want to expose publicly, right? So that's why I decided, okay, I mean, why would we even consider hosting this outside of our own organization? Let's start small with a single server on-prem that is isolated to what it needs to have access to, without considering hosting it outside. Yeah.
So was that the entrance point of Cisco, Boris, when the request of additional compute came
Yes,
from a customer?
yes, it indeed was. So we tried to take a step back together with Sebastian and see how we could best help him in the journey that he was about to start. And one of the things that we could offer Sebastian is some kind of modularity, where he could basically start small and build, as he's still building, towards all the things that he needs. So we are now, I think, almost a year further in time, and we are still having conversations with Sebastian to see how we can help him grow within the same platform. So that's one of the things that we discussed back then, how we can position a platform for him and Trivium to grow within that same platform and to give him some future-proof scalability possibilities.
Because I guess, Sebastian, when you notice, hey, look, AI can help us in a specific domain, either to become more efficient or to become more effective or anything in between, that you have to take a lot of considerations. You have a lot of consideration about, well, how to organize this, including an infrastructure question. So could you help us to understand some of those considerations you had at that time?
Well, we also used AI for that. I mean, it's some form of where we in the past had IT for IT, we have AI for AI, right? So we started small with our application where we developed most of it ourselves, and then with the help of AI, because we were able to use our own models, we expanded that quite rapidly. It's the same on the infrastructure side, right? I mean, as I quickly noticed, we started small on a server even without a GPU. We bought a small server with a single GPU. Then with Cisco, we decided, okay, we need more modularity. So how are we going to expand this moving forward? And of course, with the help of AI, we are able to design a much more future-proof infrastructure. But I mean, that raises simple questions like, okay, you have a single server, a single physical server. That single server grows to 4, 5, 6 physical servers. How are you going to spread the load? How are you going to manage that? How are you going to patch it, etc.? And a lot of that can actually be done with agentic AI, logging into servers automatically, doing the patching for you, trying to help you troubleshooting, etc., which saves a lot of time in the team. So the more we touch AI, the more we realize that we can even be more efficient.
So AI running AI, actually. That's,
Kinda, indeed,
well,
yes.
Not independently, but
The end scenario.
yeah, yeah. Hey, and did you have when designing, let's say your approach, right? Did you have any requirements that said, look, if we want to do something, it needs to meet these and these and these criteria for sure? Was that clear from the beginning, or has that been growing over time?
Well, at Cisco Live last year, we participated at Cisco Live, and we had a conversation with one of the AI engineers there.
Correct, yeah.
Which actually advised the current hardware stack. And back then, which was only February this year, we were a bit dreaming about our end scenario. We're like, oh, it would be very nice if we have a modularity stack which we can easily expand, etc. Now, fast forward, I think 10 months.
Yeah.
We already almost outgrown the solution, and we need to go back to the drawing table to see, okay, what's next? How are we going to manage this?
It's good for Cisco, but but that's something that was in the design, right? It's a kind of scalable, modular solution.
Back then we made a decision, and that's partly also because of Sebastian's excellent knowledge around this topic. So he's able, together with the team, to build it himself. So he's taking the building blocks that we provide from Cisco. But another scenario could be, for instance, to take a full stack approach, right? And let Cisco do a lot of pre-designing, take a validated stack. But in this case, because of your knowledge, you decided to do this way and experiment with all the different building blocks yourself and build that AI factory.
Yes, and within Trivium, I'm very fortunate to have a very agile and flexible team. So when from that single server we had to move into the 3-4 server approach we currently have, we decided to go for Kubernetes. And it really helped that the team was more than agile enough and motivated enough to see, okay, let's make this happen, let's implement it, let's try, let's play around. And of course we had to reinstall it a couple of times. But I think by now we are pretty confident that we have built something pretty resilient and scalable for the future, and that we can onboard hundreds and hundreds of more users and expand it with more business cases. So I think that's where it all started from an IT perspective, and somewhere in the middle of the process, when we started to broadcast this to the rest of the business, more and more other stakeholders got involved to say, hey, but my team also want to use this chatbot. So we kind of created and still creating a generic chatbot which can not only help IT, but the whole business.
And was there a lot of thoughts from the business or from other areas in the business where they say, look, how secure is the solution? Because you're including a lot of different data sources, right, to this solution. So was it a problem for you, or a challenge, and how, if yes, how did you overcome that?
Yes, and that was part of our design principles from the very beginning. So especially on the network side, we have access to quite a lot of tools and information in the network, and not all team members do have access to all that information. So if you talk about CMDB, for example, with all our assets, not everyone in the team has access to all the assets. So what we wanted to prevent is that Kenny got access to everything through a service account, and that we just feed AI whatever we have in the CMDB, and then you potentially asking a question that normally, if you would log into that system directly, should not be able to see. So we created a marketplace, like the App Store on your iPhone, where you can enable and disable these integrations. And the application owner is actually reviewing that. So you logging into the application, you say, I would like to see some information about the CMDB.
It's kind of role-based.
Yeah, you request access to the plugin in the marketplace. Now, once the application owner approves that, you can go through the setup process. And that setup process is like, you need to register your own account, whether that is an API key or your credentials or whatever. Where we use SSO, well, we do actually. And we always act and interact on behalf of the user. So the application behind it will always see you in the log. And since we have included that in our design principles from the beginning, we never have to care about our AI models having more access than they should. Because if we revoke certain accesses, well, the model can't access that either way. So I think that was one of the key principles to start with. And other than that, the whole model and the whole infrastructure around this runs on-prem, right? So we don't need to expose anything to the internet. Everyone can only access it when they are inside of the organization. So of course we are still pen testing our application and monitoring vulnerabilities, etc. But way less concerned compared to exposing it directly through the internet.
Yeah. So there was a decision by design, right? That you said, look, we keep this in an own environment where we can control any layer in this stack. And in terms of a lot of complaints about AI, what's the ROI, right? So what's the return on what we pay for, and what's the ratio between performance and costs? Could you take it with your decision path over that in terms of ROI, and what does it bring?
I mean, if you just buy a bunch of GPUs to have user-only interaction, that will always remain a question, I think. Because you buy a video card, that video card is expensive, and you are basically only using it once a single user asks a question or a bunch of users ask a question. And outside of business hours, it's basically sleeping, doing nothing. And I think that completely changes the game when you start to use agents and automate certain of your tasks. And we are currently starting, for example, automatically resolving tickets from our ITSM system. When agents are using your GPUs 24 hours a day, you are generating so much tokens that it will be very hard to be more expensive, basically, than a cloud solution. If you look at the token price currently, although it's decreasing and decreasing, it's still more expensive over time. So you buy hardware over a period of 5 years compared to having a subscription in place and pay your tokens on a monthly basis. So once you created your business case with the confidence that this will only grow, because I think that's what we all believe in, it won't go away anymore. It's quite easy to make that business case, I would say.
And I think it's also a process, right, Sebastian? Because we started when you were still working for the networking team, and now you moved to a dedicated role with responsibilities around the AI journey that Trivium is going through. So I think it's also something that you are experiencing along the way, right, together with the company.
Yeah, that is correct indeed. Yeah.
Okay. And in that respect, right? So owning your AI stack, what was your view on the way you could get your hands around all the layers? So kind of transparency between, let's say, user performance and let's say software parts and hardware parts. So is any layer completely transparent for you at this moment of time, or are there still challenges there?
No, I think it's transparent. When we scaled up from a single server to multiple servers, we made the decision to go for Kubernetes. We have a full-blown Kubernetes cluster with all the security aspects, etc., so that we can monitor if models are connecting the internet, or whether they should or should not connect the internet, and what is really happening underneath. Models writing to disks, etc., that we would like to monitor, classify, and block if needed. On top of Kubernetes, we are running our own application, which we have containerized. And we use the open source VLLM stack to actually run our models on the GPUs linked to the cluster. Everything in there is fully transparent, part of our monitoring solution. And if it goes down, the whole team is confident on what to do to bring it back up. And the flexibility we have by running it in VLLM and be able to run new models on a daily or even hourly basis has a lot of value. Because, I mean, it's not new that the open source models, almost every day there's a new open source model launched, right? Yeah. And we do have the flexibility within Trivium to say, so this Chinese model is now better than the one created in the US or vice versa. Let's have this implemented, let's have it quickly tested. And if it works as expected, we push it to our test environment, even production environment. And if not, then, no man overboard, we just move on.
Interesting. And do you believe that from a perceptional point of view in the organization, so business, let's say, that an own stack help to be confident in the offered solution? Do you believe that comparing, for example, for a cloud solution, that the fact that it was an on-prem, in-house developed solution, capability actually, was leading to a higher confidence level than if you would like to have done it in the cloud? Or
I think for the team it helps because we don't have to rely on any external SLAs. And the fact that we are fully in control and know 100% for sure that nothing that we do in that stack is leaked towards the internet really helps. Yeah. For a lot of stakeholders. I mean, if we talk about legal or compliance or whatever, security even, it's, what's it doing? Well, it's sitting here. This is what it does. This is how it communicates to the outside. Here's the log. And if you have any questions, let us know.
Yeah.
Quite simple.
I can imagine. And did you also see that, given the path you've taken, start small and then build from there, that you interest the business by, if you can't do this, can you do that? So do you get a lot of requests based on what you build up now?
I think the business is quite new to AI, like most of the audience, I would say. So from an IT perspective, we take for granted that everyone knows what we are talking about, but they are not. I remember one of the first conversations I had with our procurement team where we onboarded them to Kenny. They were completely blown away. They were like, it replies. Yes, but is it an he? Is it a she? Or how does this work, right? And by then you just realize, that's quite interesting actually to have these conversations. And this is actually one of our top users now. So he uses it on a daily basis, the entire day. and really saw the benefit. And I think we have still a very long journey in front of us of adoption. Not only using a chatbot to rewrite your email, right, but to fully integrate it into the wider application stack, take over some processes, become more efficient, and provide people with a better understanding of what it is. But I don't think that's new. I think we saw the same with the telephone and with internet and with the computer, generally speaking. So, but yeah, I'm very looking forward to the journey to come. And bring the organization on board and expand this further, basically.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And considering, let's say, the way you had the opportunity to build this, right? Do you have any tips for other organizations to say, look, if you would like to start with AI and build a kind of similar capability as you having, what kind of conditions need to be in place just to be successful?
I would say you need to be motivated in the way that in Kenny, sometimes something pops up in my mind at 3 a.m. We need to have this new feature, and just wake up and start coding it. And as we already said, just start. And although you might not be very happy about the performance, just start somewhere. You maybe have to wait like a minute or so before you get your reply back from the model, but at least it provides you with the start of a journey which the business can jump on. It's important that we I mean, PowerPoint presentations are all good and well, right? But once they see it with their own eyes, and once they realize that this can bring a lot of value to the organization, they much quicker approve investments and be on board with the rest of the thing than just stick to presentations. So again, even if you don't have the latest and greatest NVIDIA hardware or whatever GPU you are using, just start somewhere and take it from there.
And your own role evolved as well, right? In terms of from being more focused on network, now being the lead of the AI Center of Excellence.
Yeah, the going in position was, okay, let's try to help the network team. And here we are. We completely divided away. And now we are helping the entire organization maturalized by introducing a dedicated AI team. And we now have an AI team within the organization that does only this, basically. And nobody was expecting that.
So what does the AI Center of Excellence team do within your organization?
We try to identify use cases. So we talk to our stakeholders. We try to understand what they are doing on a daily basis and how we can help them become more efficient. And then reflect that on our own developments and try to integrate that into Kenny and make sure that we make it available for everyone. So one of an example is a procurement team, for example. So procurement did translate a lot of contracts from various countries, organizations towards English. They were doing that by hand, and we helped them actually automating that using AI. But that's not only for procurement, right? Anyone from finance, IT, or whatever organization or team you are part of can now translate contracts with Kenny, which is fully tailor made around the type of contracts we have. So we are rather much focused on, okay, we are going to help a specific team, but since we are helping that team, we are also making these features available for everyone in the entire organization so that everyone benefits from it.
So you have an exciting roadmap of new solutions for 2026.
We do, yeah. It's a bit like a kindergarten, right?
Yeah.
We continuously play around, try new features, and also be realistic sometimes. We need to have the mindset of, okay, sometimes we need to be fair to ourselves, look in the mirror, understand that this is not what we expect it to be, and just trash it and move on to the next study.
I think it's a very important statement, right? About, well, of course, AI is very much, let's say, infrastructure related, fine. But without the brain, so the AI Center of Excellence, it's almost useless because you need to utilize it to the full max. And and the connect to the business is done through this AI Center of Excellence, right? Yeah.
And I think it's also a process, and we've experienced it pretty close as you went through that AI journey of Trivium. What we saw is it started with the use case from the networking side, right? Where you started with. And it took some time to convince all the internal stakeholders. And you've been fighting for it a long time, I think. But now more and more use cases will be added, and you're really creating a roadmap. So I think a lot of other organizations can learn from that as well by starting with a use case and starting to think before doing it, but also understanding of, basically what you said, that starting can be very simple, right?
Yeah, and starting also in your own environment is relatively doable, right? Of course, it probably takes some more effort and skills compared to just spin off something in the cloud, but there are definitely benefits, as you just mentioned, but it's also doable, and you don't have to invest, in the latest and greatest GPU infrastructure. You can do it on alternative stacks, which is in line with the business case, and prove yourself from there. And then, it will be almost a self-funding principle.
Yeah, as Sebastian basically said, some people just need to see it before believing in it, and that's the magic that you showed there.
Yeah, what I also say is that, 20, 30 years ago, nobody ever thought of creating their own office suite, right? Everyone took it for granted that, okay, if you need Outlook and PowerPoint, Microsoft is the way to go. You buy the suite, you have your license, and that's it. But in the age of AI, that's completely changing. Everyone can build whatever. It's we will have an Vibe Code challenge next month in the organization, where we just invite a bunch of people and say, okay, this is what we want to build. A basic application where you can register yourself and go for it.
Yeah.
Everyone can. It's amazing to see. It's and if you can't, you just ask, okay, this is not working. It will try to help you guide through. It will help finalizing the code and even push it to production at some point and help you troubleshoot all the way up to supporting it once it is running in production. It's so very interesting times. I'm very much looking forward to what's all there to come. We're just getting started, I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Boris, how challenging is it for Cisco to stay in line with such a dynamic roadmap and environment?
Yes, I think it's a challenge indeed, but I think by communicating well, by following all the market trends, right? Sebastian also explained tokenomics briefly in one of his answers before. I think it's very important to follow the latest trends and to be continuously following them in terms of translating them back to your infrastructure. And it's not only about one component of your infrastructure. I think it's about the full stack there. My understanding, and I think we are proud to work for Cisco from that perspective, is that we are not only part of one silo within that full stack, but we are trying to enable our customers with all the different layers in an AI stack and trying to give them the observability and the security tools to also really bring it to practice and bring it to real life and solve all the challenges that you might face during that AI journey.
Yeah.
And you can start small. That's the nice thing about the modularity perspective that we have. And the real example sitting next to me is Sebastian.
That's good. Sebastian, do you have any tips and tricks or do's and don'ts, as you wish, for organizations and people that are listening to say, look, we would like to start as well, but we don't have a very good understanding where and how to start. Can you help them to get their car running?
I think Cisco is a very good starting point, actually. Cisco had a lot of expertise on AI level, as I think briefly said in one of the previous questions, is we had a conversation with an AI engineer at Cisco Live, which we explained our journey to. And he was perfectly capable of providing us some tips and tricks and really helped us forward on, hey, that's a good one, actually. We didn't thought of that. So find a partner as a tip. And start small and don't try to be perfect. I think that's sometimes we and we are still guilty as well internally. We are producing features that need to be 100% perfect. If that's your goal, it will fail. So try to be 60-70% perfect. Try to be happy with whatever is there, and then try to scale it without losing sight of your main objectives, basically.
And from your end, Boris, you have any?
Yes, I think. Thanks, by the way, for the great words. And I think it's also important, and that's something that you might already have experienced in a different way than other organizations might face it. But I think finding a partner that can also help you define the use cases could be something that I can add to that list as well. Because for you, Sebastian, there was a clear use case, and you started to work on that use case and slowly added other use cases. But for a lot of organizations, it might be a challenge to find a use case. But they also have the fear of missing out, right? AI is everywhere. So I think we can also help. And I think that's also something you need to find in a partner if you are taking that AI journey. Find a partner that can also help you with the first part, defining the use case. So what is AI? What can we do with AI? And what do we need for that AI before moving into the infrastructure discussion?
Good. I think it was a very insightful conversations based on real life practice. And I think we learned in this episode around, well, start small, at least start. Don't try to be perfect. You don't need to have the latest and greatest or enormous investments. A center of excellence, so an AI center of excellence. So let's say people that really can bridge the capabilities from a technical point of view to the business. That's very important. Finding partners in the ecosystem, right? That can help you. I think those were all part of the discussion we had today. Thanks for listening to this podcast, and join us for the next episode where we're going to discuss more subjects around considerations of an AI infrastructure.